Gary was not laughing when Rex showed up at his cave. Rex had a newspaper under one tiny arm and a very serious expression on his face. He held up the newspaper. The headline said Recession. Gary had seen that word before. Many times. He moved over on the rock and made room for Rex to sit down. Rex sat. He asked Gary how a dinosaur was supposed to make money when everything was falling apart. Gary looked at him for a long time. Then Gary said that was actually the wrong question. And that the right question was much more interesting. Chapter 1. What a recession actually is. Before Rex could learn how to make money during a recession, he needed to understand what a recession actually was. A recession is not a disaster. It is a contraction. The economy, meaning the total amount of goods and services being produced and bought, shrinks for a period of time. Businesses earn less. Some close. Unemployment rises. People spend less. Which causes businesses to earn even less. Rex recognized this as a loop. A bad one. Gary nodded. A recession is a loop that feeds itself until something breaks the cycle. They happen regularly. Every economy on the planet has gone through multiple recessions throughout history. They are painful. They are not permanent. Rex thought about his meteor bag. He thought about the number on the bag staying the same while everything got more expensive. A recession is actually the opposite problem. In a recession, prices often drop. Sometimes dramatically. And that changes everything about how you should think about money. Gary said this was the part most dinosaurs completely missed. They hear the word recession and they hide. They pull their meteors under the bed. They stop doing anything. And in doing that, they miss the most important window of opportunity in the entire economic cycle. Rex asked Gary what he meant. Gary said sit down longer. This one had several chapters. Chapter 2. Why recessions create opportunities. During normal times, good assets are expensive. Good companies have high stock prices. Real estate costs a lot. Starting a business is competitive because everyone has money to spend. During a recession, something changes. Prices fall. Sometimes assets that were overpriced during the boom get repriced to their actual value. Sometimes they get repriced below their actual value because everyone is panicking. Rex remembered the speculator dinosaurs from a previous story. Panic makes prices move further than reality justifies. In both directions. During a recession, panic pushes prices down further than they should rationally go. This creates a window. A historically documented, repeatedly proven window where assets can be bought at a discount. Gary said almost every significant fortune in modern history had roots in a recession. The people who built those fortunes were not lucky. They were prepared. They understood the cycle. And they had positioned themselves to act when everyone else was too scared to move. Rex asked how you position yourself for something before you know it is coming. Gary said that was Chapter 3. Chapter 3. What you do before the recession hits. Recessions are hard to predict precisely. But their arrival is not a surprise. They are part of the cycle. The preparation for a recession does not start when the recession arrives. It starts during the boom, when everything feels fine and nobody wants to hear about problems. Step 1 is the emergency fund. Rex needed to understand this first. An emergency fund is a pool of liquid meteors that covers 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Not invested. Not in something that could lose value. Just sitting somewhere accessible and stable. During a recession, the first thing that happens for most dinosaurs is income disruption. Jobs get cut. Clients disappear. Revenue drops. The emergency fund is what keeps Rex from being forced to sell assets at the worst possible moment just to pay his rent. Selling assets during a recession is how most dinosaurs lock in their losses permanently. The emergency fund prevents that. It buys time. Rex thought about his own emergency fund. He realized he did not have one. Gary did not look surprised. Step 2 is reducing high-interest debt before the recession hits. High-interest debt, the kind that charges 15 or 20% annually, becomes a crushing weight during a recession when income drops. Every meteor going toward interest payments is a meteor that cannot go toward opportunity when the window opens. During a boom, pay off high-interest debt aggressively. During a recession you will be glad you did. Step 3 is understanding your income sources and how recession-resistant they are. Some income is very vulnerable to recessions. Luxury sales, construction, advertising, retail, hospitality. Some income is more resistant. Healthcare, utilities, food, discount retail, repair services. Rex thought about what he did for a living. He made a mental note to think seriously about that. Chapter 4. The assets that go on sale. When a recession hits and Rex has his emergency fund in place and his high-interest debt cleared, he is in a position most dinosaurs are not in. He has options. While others are scrambling just to stay afloat, Rex can look at what has gone on sale. The first category is stocks and index funds. During recessions, stock markets typically fall significantly. Sometimes 30%. Sometimes 50%. Most dinosaurs see this and run. Rex should see this and get interested. Buying broad market index funds during a significant downturn has historically been one of the most reliable ways to build wealth over a 10 to 20 year period. This does not mean trying to call the exact bottom. Nobody can do that consistently. It means continuing to invest consistently throughout the downturn, buying more units at lower prices. This strategy is called dollar cost averaging. Rex buys a fixed amount at regular intervals regardless of the price. When prices are low, his fixed amount buys more. When prices are high, it buys less. Over time, the average cost per unit comes down. Gary said the key phrase was over time. This is not a strategy for the next 3 months. It is a strategy for the next 10 years. Rex had to make sure he understood that before he touched any investment during a recession. Chapter 5. Real estate during a recession. The second category of assets that go on sale during recessions is real estate. Property prices drop when people lose jobs, when lending tightens, and when forced sellers need to liquidate quickly. Forced sellers are the key. These are dinosaurs who need to sell, not dinosaurs who want to sell. A forced seller will accept a price they would never accept during a boom. Because they have no choice. Rex asked how you find forced sellers. Gary said they find you, if you have the reputation and the resources available. The challenge with real estate during a recession is that getting financing also becomes harder. Banks tighten lending standards exactly when prices are most attractive. This is another reason the emergency fund and debt reduction matter so much in advance. Rex with a strong financial position can access financing that Rex with debt and no savings cannot. The dinosaurs who buy real estate at recession prices and hold it through the recovery typically build significant wealth over the following decade. Gary said he had seen this happen 3 times in his lifetime. Same pattern every time. Same window. Different dinosaurs walking through it. Chapter 6. Starting a business during a recession. Rex looked at Gary with some skepticism when Gary brought up this chapter. Starting a business during a recession sounds like the worst possible idea. Gary said that was exactly why it could be one of the best. During a recession, several things happen that benefit new businesses. Rent is cheaper. Commercial landlords who could not be negotiated with during a boom will suddenly consider much more favorable terms. Labor costs are lower. Skilled workers who were unavailable during a boom are now looking for work. Supplier costs drop. Materials, services, and inputs that were expensive during the boom become negotiable. Competition thins out. Weaker businesses close. The market they serve becomes available to whoever steps in. Many of the most resilient companies in the world were founded during recessions or immediately after economic downturns. They were built at lower cost. They were built with lean habits because there was no choice. They were built by people who understood what the market actually needed because the excess had been stripped away. Rex asked what kind of business made sense during a recession. Gary said think about what people need when money is tight, not what they want when money is loose. Repair instead of replace. Discount instead of premium. Essential instead of optional. People still need food. They still need healthcare. They still need their cars fixed and their pipes repaired and their taxes filed. They stop buying luxury items. They start prioritizing value. The businesses that serve recession behavior do well during recessions. And if built properly, they continue to do well when the recovery comes. Chapter 7. The skills that pay during a recession. Rex asked what someone with no savings and no capital could do during a recession. Gary said that was where skills came in. And this was possibly the most accessible chapter of all. During a recession, companies cut costs. One of the first things they cut is full-time employees. But the work does not disappear. It often gets outsourced to freelancers and contractors instead. A dinosaur with a specific valuable skill can often earn more as a contractor during a recession than as an employee, because companies need the work done but cannot justify the full-time cost. The skills that pay most during recessions are the ones that help other businesses survive. Cost reduction consulting. Financial restructuring. Debt negotiation. Digital marketing that generates measurable return on investment. Repair and maintenance trades. Rex thought about what he was actually good at. Gary waited. Rex said he was good at explaining complicated things simply. Gary said that was more valuable than Rex realized. During a recession, every business owner needs to communicate clearly. With lenders. With customers. With employees. With partners. The dinosaur who can help them do that clearly and persuasively has a skill that does not go away in a recession. Rex had not thought about it that way before. Gary said most dinosaurs never did. Chapter 8. What not to do. Rex asked Gary what the most common mistakes were. Gary said there were 3 that he saw every single recession without exception. The first mistake was panic selling. A dinosaur who owned assets going into the recession, index funds, property, a business, and sold everything at the bottom of the downturn, locked in the maximum possible loss. And then typically bought back in much later, after prices had recovered, locking in the maximum possible missed gain. This behavior is so common and so consistently destructive that it has its own name in behavioral economics. Rex did not need to know the name. He just needed to not do it. The second mistake was taking on debt to chase quick returns. During recessions, there are always schemes. Always promotions. Always dinosaurs promising that this particular investment is different. Rex had to remember that the opportunity in a recession is real. But it is slow and boring. It is buying index funds month after month. It is holding real estate for years. It is building a business steadily. It is not a trade that doubles his meteors in 30 days. Any promise of quick returns during a recession is almost certainly a trap designed to take the meteors of scared and desperate dinosaurs. Gary said he had watched too many dinosaurs lose their emergency fund on exactly this kind of scheme. The third mistake was doing nothing at all. Hiding. Waiting for things to feel safe before acting. The problem is that when things feel safe again, the opportunity is already gone. Prices have recovered. The window has closed. The discomfort of acting during uncertainty is the price of entry to the window. There is no way around it. Rex sat with that for a while. Gary let him. Chapter 9. The mindset shift. Rex asked Gary how to actually feel calm enough to act when everything around him was falling apart. Gary said this was the hardest part. And also the most important part. A recession is a redistribution. Meteors do not disappear. They move from those who panic to those who prepare. The total amount of wealth in the economy shrinks temporarily. But the relative position of different dinosaurs can change dramatically depending on how they respond. Rex could not control the recession. He could not predict exactly when it would start or end. He could control his preparation. His emergency fund. His debt level. His skills. His investment discipline. Those things were fully in his control regardless of what the broader economy was doing. Gary said the dinosaurs who built the most wealth during recessions were not the ones who saw them coming. They were the ones who had been preparing for the cycle without knowing exactly when it would turn. When it turned, they were ready. Not because they were smart. Because they had been disciplined for years before anyone needed to be. Rex thought about the gas price story. About the system being bigger than any individual dinosaur. The economy was a system too. With cycles. With predictable patterns. With windows that opened and closed. You could not fight the system. But you could understand it well enough to be on the right side of it when the cycle moved. Rex folded the newspaper under his arm. He looked at the headline one more time. Then he put it down on the rock and left it there. Gary picked up his banana again. Rex asked one final question. He asked when the recession would end. Gary said he did not know. Nobody did. But he said history was very clear about one thing. They always ended. Every single one of them. Without exception. Rex nodded. He stood up from the rock. He had an emergency fund to start building. A debt list to look at. A skill to sharpen. And for the first time since he had seen that headline, he did not feel scared. He felt like a dinosaur with a plan. Gary watched him go. Then Gary finished his banana. He had seen this before too. The moment a dinosaur stopped reacting to the system and started understanding it. It always happened at a rock. With a newspaper. And a question that sounded like fear but was actually the beginning of something else entirely.